Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. Today is May 18th, 2022. A current view there at Yellowstone live webcam of the Beehive. And Yellowstone is once again a rockin' and a rollin'. There is an earthquake swarm going on for at least, the last 24 hours. Here is the most recent image of the most recent earthquake that USGS has not reported as of 9:26 a.m. Central Daylight Time. This earthquake comes in as a magnitude, let me bring it down, as a magnitude 2.09. Now remember, when the in-house geologist, Hank Hessler, said that they started having magnitude 2 earthquakes there at Yellowstone, they would be taking notice and becoming quite concerned. And these magnitude 2s are increasing and probably happening daily. They are only reporting 6 earthquakes within the last 24 hours, all in the Madison River area. Madison River Plateau, you'll notice there. Now, many of you do know that when Yellowstone had its last major eruption, about 631,000 years ago. Where did they get that 1 from? When it unzipped, it did a counter rotation starting up here in the Madison River area, made a counterclockwise rotation, having, multiple eruptions, multiple explosions, until it got down here by Heart Lake. And then the 2 resurgent domes, which would be the Sour Creek Resurgent Dome and the Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome, both erupted, collapsed at the same time, 631,000 years ago. Another eruption there at the Pitchstone Plateau was about 70,000 years ago. That eruption sent ash all the way to Nebraska. You can see South Dakota right there. Up over here is North Dakota. If they have what's considered another smaller eruption, basically maybe the same size as Pitchstone Plateau, this is the area that they think would be covered by that ash. And we got North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, parts of Texas, New Mexico, Oregon, Nevada, and parts of Washington. Now they are hoping, and Bob Smith of the University of Utah thinks that the next eruption will probably be, hopefully, about the size of Mount St. Helens. But there's no guarantee it will be a small eruption. I've talked about that. And the area he thinks the next eruption will take place will be within this area that I have drawn out in yellow. Here we have the Sour Creek Resurgent Dome. Down to the south is Yellowstone Lake. And maybe they believe that because of the recent developments of where the ground heated up here by Fern Lake, and that new thermal area that was discovered, I believe it was 2019, that burned up all these trees. And then there's sulfur deposits, new area of sulfur. You can see it in white in this area. On the charcoal remains of the trees that burned up, they burned up from the ground because of the heat of the ground. They actually found sulfur crystals on the remains, the charcoal remains of those dead trees, burned up dead trees. Another interesting little detail, you notice these lakes over here. Here we have Turn Lake, and over here was an area where the temperature of the water coming into this lake was 133 degrees Fahrenheit. And then down over here was uplift. This is White Lake. They had 8 inches of uplift that was measured since 2009. Even though they didn't list any earthquakes in this area, they do have uplift and they have the ground temperature increasing. So that's probably why this area drawn out in yellow is where Bob Smith of the University of Utah feels the next eruption could take place. Now that would be a small eruption, but with the recent earthquakes over there at the Madison River Plateau, and there's been many swarms in this area, makes you wonder if it's gearing up for another unzipping, a counterclockwise unzipping, where the two resurgent domes could collapse at the same time and have a major eruption. They just don't know. Now, USGS is only reporting 6 earthquakes. I gotta laugh about that, because there's been a lot more than just 6 earthquakes. The monitor on the left here, let me pull this up for you. That is from the borehole, and I'll make it bigger. It's a very deep well under the ground, the borehole at the Madison River area. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I'm trying to pull this over. 10. And let me close that out. 10 earthquakes just from the borehole alone, marked in red, which means it was probably earthquakes in that location that was picked up on this monitor. Now, I am not counting, let me bring this up, these smaller quakes. There's one there, another one there. So, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 earthquakes within the last 24 hours on this monitor. This one on the right there, looks to be the largest, looking at the size of the different ones. That was at 58 minutes and 45 seconds after midnight. Now that's universal time, which USGS is not reporting. There's the spectrogram, and that comes in as a magnitude 2.34. I'll bring it down so you can see it there at the bottom. It says MD 2.34. The most recent earthquake that they are reporting is a magnitude 1.5 at 10:39 universal time. So it would be this one right here. And it was actually a magnitude 2.22. Alright, they just updated their monitor. They got a magnitude 2.0 at 13:59. So they finally have it posted. And that would be the largest that they are reporting within the last 24 hours. Don't make it true, but yeah, I've already showed you we got 2 that are actually larger. Alright, that's that one right there, which I already showed you. And we'll close this out. We got some smaller ones here. But the ones marked in red, the most recent, yeah, that would be that one right there. Okay, the next one, 10:35, they are saying is a magnitude 0.9. 0.9. Oh, they left off the 2 point. And then if you take that, it's, yeah, 2.09, not a 0.9. Maybe someone working there punched the wrong buttons. They left off the 2. That is a big difference. Yeah, from a 0.9. Yeah, it's actually a 2.09. Alright, so what else do we have here? The next one, oh, they got marked in red, would be that one right there at 9:55. That they're not reporting. They got one at 9:46, a 1.5, which would be this one right here. So we got Well, there's a small one there. This one's in red. They're not reporting. 2 more small ones. Let me make that bigger for you so you can see it. Okay, we got that one they're not reporting. That one they're not reporting. That one they're not reporting. 952 and 955. So there is a total of 10 along here that they're not reporting, and a total of 3 marked in red that they're not reporting. Looking at the spectrogram, you can see a small one came in right afterwards. Right there, we'll go to its signature. And let's fix this so we can see it. Okay. We'll look at this. Well, we'll go to the spectrogram again. Now, often when we have 2 earthquakes so close to each other, they'll put the signature together, classify it as one earthquake, and it comes in as a 2.11. All right. Then we got some little dinky ones here. You can see it brought up gases. We'll go to this one right here and look at the signature. Not being reported. Alright, 952. My thing just cleared on me out. I don't know if I'm in the right spot, but I really shortened up the seismic signature and it comes in as a 1.91. But if I did it right, it comes in at least as a magnitude 2.05. Alright, let me go to this one. Was that the one I was going to do at 948? That comes in as a magnitude 1.86. And then this is the one that they are reporting. They're saying is a magnitude 1.5. That actually is a 2.04. Alright, then we got another little one here. Let's change the view. We got a little one there. You can see it. And another little one there. And then the bigger one. Let's see. Oops. Okay, 9:45 and 25 seconds. Well, this is very ridiculous. They're saying it's a 0.3. Let's take bets. You think it's a 0.3? Nope, it's a 1.63, and I took off this other earthquake. You can see, yeah. Oh, let's shorten it up even more because it kind of blended into the other one. Okay, 1.61. That is definitely not a 0.3. Are they blind? Who's reading their charts down there? Way up on the right, that is Lake Butte. And yeah, look at all the magma that was coming in. I'll make that bigger for you. I want to briefly cover what's going on there at Yellowstone Lake. Yeah, they actually call this blobs of magma. And we'll go to the spectrogram. Yeah, look how bright that line of melt's getting. Remember, that's where the crack is. It's got a lid, a dome of rhyolite that is keeping this magma from causing either a dike intrusion or, yeah, maybe a tube that would come up and allow the magma to come in. So what's happening is the magma can't get past it. It hasn't created enough heat to melt that rhyolite cap. So it's now spreading horizontally. Yeah, look at that. And here's that other earthquake. Let me bring it down for you. You'll see that most recent one showed up on all three monitors. Also, many of these earthquakes that are showing up at the Madison River monitor and the borehole also. Yeah, the heat that came up is showing up. You can see there at the bottom of these charts. It's showing up across the park. We have an earthquake here at 6:36. It shows up at the borehole, but it was probably closer to the Madison River, or excuse me, Maple Creek monitor. And it also showed up at Lake Butte. Here's the monitor for Lake Butte. Yeah, harmonic tremors, which means the magma was on the flow. See the line of melt and the heat that came up. There's actually two lines marked for the Maple Creek monitor. Let me bring it up. And this is definitely magma. It's called magma, the lava, when it's still under the ground. Yeah, that's harmonic tremor. Look at the heat. Oh my goodness. That one came in as a magnitude 2.52. And there, let me show you this. There's actually, there it is, another earthquake that came in. It was rumbling for quite a while. You can tell by the seismic signature and also by the spectrogram. Yeah, it rattled. Let's go to the signature. Look at that. Okay, we'll go to the beginning. And there's that other smaller earthquake. Yeah, that one was, and I shortened the signature way before this other smaller earthquake. I mean, technically, I probably should have. Let me do this. I should have put it down here right before it occurred. And if I do that, it comes in as a magnitude 2.71. And let's go up over here. Look at the heat. Like I said, this is the area when it decided to unzip during its last major eruption. This is where it started. And it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, this is all harmonic tremors. Look at that. See, rounded tops. Okay, yeah, it was going. And then we had drum beats. Let me go up over here. We had drum beats. That is very obvious. Let me go up. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. This is where you got dike intrusion, and it's slowly melting the rock, and it gets stuck. It reaches an area where it's still hard, and then it melts it, and boom, 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 dike intrusion, where you have a crack where it's trying to go up through this conduit. All through there. Look at that. Yep, and it lasted how long? Oh my goodness. Each line is an hour. 1, 2, probably 3 hours. At least 3 hours. We had magma moving. And then it stopped for, almost 2 hours. And it started up again. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. And I'll pull it over. Yeah. We very well could see an eruption of Yellowstone in our lifetime. I'm not going to make no predictions when I think it's going to erupt. Only God knows that. I mean, it's been recharging for 6,000 years. And it's huge. So if it wants to make a huge eruption, it's going to take a while for a large quantity of magma to come into the system and build up pressure. Yeah. One of those in our community was recently there. They didn't say how recent, but they were recently there at Yellowstone and said that the smell of sulfur was quite strong. Anyways, yeah. Let's take a look what it's doing right now. This top monitor, now that is the Madison River borehole. There's the most recent earthquake. And it probably took them about a half an hour. Looks like we got another small one since then. That comes in both at the Madison River area and the Maple Creek, and down here is Lake Butte. Let's take a peek at this one. And I'll extract that. Yeah, a little one. A little tiny earthquake. Oh, look at before that. Let's make this larger. I can get this to move over. There we go. Okay, that's a little tiny one. I want to take a peek what it was doing prior to this, so I'll extract all that and see what we get. Okay, we got another one at the end. And let's make this bigger. It doesn't really show anything. I'd have to download it. I tried. Alright, I went back another 4 hours. Again, Lake Butte here, Maple Creek in the middle, and the borehole for the Madison River. Borehole 207 at the top. And the boreholes are really good because they don't pick up any outside noise. They don't have that many boreholes there at Yellowstone, but the larger ones you can see they pick up all the way over to Yellowstone Lake. Yeah, and they're only reporting, what now? 7 earthquakes within the last 24 hours. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, within just 4 hours. 4 hours. And they're saying they only have 7 for the last 24 hours. And I went back another 4 hours. You can see one here, 2. Let's pull it over. 3, 4, and another little one, which would make 5. So that would be 22 within just 8 hours. Yeah, I wonder if the Ministry of Truth will ever get on USGS about telling the truth of the earthquakes. No, I don't think so. Yeah, they lie about everything. They lie about the baby food shortage. They lie about the inflation. You know, I mean, common sense will tell you if you keep printing money, yeah, it's going to cause inflation. Your dollar becomes more and more worthless. Are they even talking about the cost of diesel and gasoline? Oh, on the East Coast, where there's areas where you can't even get diesel, and that's going to affect our shipping of goods. Yeah, the Ministry of Truth. Yeah, they need to check out USGS. So that's all I have for you right now. If you have thoughts or comments or questions, please put those down below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your support. I'm on Patreon if you wish to support my work. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.